Can you hear the silence? Can you see the dark? Can you fix the broken? Can you feel my heart? I guess you consider this video a little bit of a belated Valentine's Day video, and sorry if you hear the toddler tablet in the background. That's what's going on there. But I actually had an issue with being really sick. I think it was mostly my sinuses. Had to go to the doctor, got a steroid shot, yada yada yada. But my throat's starting to finally actually feel a lot better. So very happy to be able to start back with the videos again. So the funny part about the song that gets my brain really going is the fact that this song actually starts off with what's seemingly metaphors, but in reality, there's actually some science behind these questions that are actually very interesting. So, can you hear the silence? As a literal question, the answer is actually yes. We do hear silence. See, hearing is the act of observing sound or none at all. Our brain stays active in silence, waiting, looking, observing, understanding, hearing, silence. Then we have the next line, can you see the dark? Well, just as with the last one, yes, we also see the dark. And the best way to make sense of this one, in a sense, is to think back for a moment. And we see a shadow, correct? That is darkness. We see the dark. We see the shadow. So we have an understanding that we actually do hear silence. We do see the dark. And then with the next line, can you fix the broken? Well, it's kind of what doctors are there for, right? Just as I had to go to the doctor, wasn't feeling well, things weren't working correctly, I went there to be fixed, in a sense. And then can you feel my heart? Now this is where we start getting a little bit more in the more logical sense. Like, you can't really feel a person's heart unless you're physically reaching into their chest. You can feel a heartbeat looking at the different vital points, or even sometimes just on placing your hand over their chest alone. So understandably, this is kind of actually an interesting logic, but I will get back to it. I'm going to shift gears and go back to the metaphorical meaning behind it, as it was more than likely intentionally written to be more so of. So can you hear the science? In a metaphorical standpoint, it's causing this illusion of how it is impossible to truly see within the dark, right? And then we have, can you hear the silence? Sorry, I jumped to the other one. But can you hear the silence? This is another one with metaphorical sense of, how do you know? I think it's supposed to go back to the whole, if there's nobody in a forest and trees fall down, does anybody hears it? I think that's kind of in the same scope of the point of this line here, of paying attention and observing, and can you actually differentiate? No. Can you actually tell apart the silence, and do you understand it? Can you fix the broken? This is more so alluding to the people who are emotionally broken inside and are struggling. And it's always an interesting aspect to think that we are broken rather than we are damaged, right? I feel like that's a very different mindset here. But of course, here pointing that out, stating we are broken, can you truly fix something that is truly broken beyond just damage? I think that's a very different, two different things there. So the emphasis on broken really makes me feel it's the other way around, in which the singer feels that he is beyond repair. And then you have, can you feel my heart, alluding to the inner turmoils and emotions that the singer is expressing. wanting, watching, waiting, observing in time for someone to truly understand him. And this is pretty much the soul focal, the entirety of the song. Do you understand me? Now, looking at it back at the logical sense of it all, it's actually still, I feel, comes to that same conclusion of, can you hear the silence? Well, yes, you can. Can you see the dark? Yes, we can. Can you fix the broken? Well, that's what going to the doctor's for. Can you feel my heart? This is the one word makes it stop and make you think of, oh, can you feel my heart? It's almost like asking in a way without saying, can your heart feel my heart? And that's what I think in that mindset. It still alludes to the same thing of, do you understand me? And that's where I still feel, no matter which perspective of a more logical to understanding the metaphorical writings of this, that you can still lead you down to the same path. Right. So then we continue on with the song. It repeats again, can you feel my heart? But then we have, can you help the hopeless? Well, I'm begging you on my knees. Can you save my soul? Will you wait for me? I'm sorry, brothers. So sorry, lover. Forgive me, father. I love you, mother. So here we have a bit more of a testimony in a sense of challenging even further in the idea. Can you help the hopeless? Now that one is actually a very strong metaphor here, because when you think about it on a scientific level and understanding psychology, you actually can't help someone that doesn't want help. And I would argue that is a hopeless person in a sense. Depending on the context, of course. A person who doesn't want help could also have different reasons for it, depending on the context of the situation. But in this case, we have this singer now even going down on his knees, begging for help. Now this, I feel like, is a step forward. When you want help but don't know how to apply help, this is where I feel a lot of people struggle. And it can be quite confusing. And I wish there was just one answer to this, but the reality of it is it changes based on context. But one thing that we can go over to kind of help this is, whatever the issue may be, finding the root cause, addressing the root cause, and just starting from there is going to be your absolute safest bet. Here he's begging for forgiveness. Well, not necessarily for forgiveness, but actually just straight up apologizing. More so asking asking for forgiveness from his father, and then stating that he loves his mother. This is probably words of regret, something, all different things of different people of what he wished he had said previously in time, and now with the opportunity, being able to preach it out, which is very nice. Then we go back into the chorus, and then we jump down to our bridge. So we have, I'm scared to get close and I hate being alone. I long for that feeling to not feel at all. The higher I get, the lower I'll sink. I can't drown my demons, they know how to swim. And it repeats. This is one of the most timing on the TV. This is one of the most like epic parts of the song for me. Like, it is just a bomb drop here. So I'm scared to get close and I hate being alone. This is a person completely with abandonment issues. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's exactly what that is. Where you prefer to be, where you are afraid of opening yourselves to relationships and get close to somebody, but you just can't stand being alone. This is an obvious sign that something had occurred in the past with a relationship. It could be a friendship, a parent relationship, it could be a sibling relationship, it could be a romantic relationship. There's so many different relationships that this could be, but in a sense, what this shows to me is this person was badly hurt by somebody who was so close and betrayed their trust, and now they're having that trouble giving out that trust again to other people. But this goes against their nature, as they are, well, as most humans are, they are social creatures, and they depend on having a social circle, even if it's just a small one, in order to gain the support and love and trust and faith that is required for us to have a very well developed social outlook on life. So we have, I long for that feeling, I not feel at all. Now that's a scary one. And it's almost in a sense, as somebody who has gotten to that point, it is a security blanket. It is much easier to get to that point of just not feeling at all and being able to shove everything down. But a problem with that is you can't really control all of these feelings. Eventually, your subconsciousness is going to be ready to move on before your consciousness is able to truly understand. This is why we have this sense of feeling of, well, I just really want to do it, I really want to do this, I really got to do this, but for whatever reasons we're overthinking, we're pushing back, and we just can't do what our inner bodies really want us to do. So it may feel nice and great at first to not feel anything at all, but the scary part of it is the aftermath of it all. I know I have definitely gone through episodes in which I don't care anymore. And it's actually been quite a long time since I have gotten to that point, and I'm very happy about that. And when I mean a long time, I think it's been a few years now. So that's pretty great. But realizing that now, more in my logical, rational mind, but still coming in with that emotional state that really pushes and pulls me, it is honestly scary looking back on it, on situations that now would make me tear up and feel a little emotional, and looking back on it before to a point where if I was shown the same thing that I'm watching and viewing that's got me so emotional, I would be stone cold. You almost lose a sense of humanity, in a sense, in the inside when you get to this point. And unfortunately for some people, they will make big decisions solely based on how they feel. So if they just don't care, that's going to show in their actions. And I'm the type of person where I want to always know where my place is, wherever I'm at, in my social group, in my work, in my, that's really all that I have. In my social group and work, right? I know my place in these. I know what I need to be. And my work changes frequently. I go from leading some shifts and not leading in other shifts. And I have to understand what my place is, what my role is, and what the team needs me to be in that moment. So I have this so engraved into my personality that this I don't care attitude really doesn't interfere much with my decision making, but it still scares me nonetheless, because one day it could. And it's very scary to have this idea of the things that you could do when you truly just don't care, you know. And it's not even just fears of what you could do to others, but what you can do to yourself. The lack of care for yourself, the lack of love you have for yourself, because when you don't care, you don't love yourself. And eventually the way you end up treating yourself can be so inhumane in itself. And that's what truly scares me the most, because I know deep down it's not going to influence much how I treat others, but how I treated myself in those moments is absolutely just awful. Honestly, It is just awful. And it took me a long time to really wrap my head around this and really understand why and what changed from now versus then, and how can I keep up the good habits I have now, how to love myself, how to take care of myself, how to understand my body cues, and how to get my body cues back to where they need to be. So definitely an interesting statement there. Then we have the higher I get, the lower I'll sink. This strongly parallels to a saying that I actually have myself, where my highest highs matches my lowest lows. This is something I've heard definitely other people say, but this was something that I really truly feel. And it's not necessarily just my inside, it's more so a reflection of what happens to me as well. I feel like as soon as something goes great with work, in a sense of I get a promotion, I get a huge tip, I've got, no issues at work with anybody, and then bam, turn around and I'm like, I'm not getting enough hours, I'm not getting any tips, and I've got an issue with a coworker. It's the complete opposite of what I have gained. And it's not something I can control in that aspect. All these things are out of my control. I can't demand somebody to tip me. I can't demand to work more hours than what my job is allowed to give me at that moment based on labor. I can't always control what people say and what people do. I can only control my response to a situation. So this is where it gets frustrating on my end for me, is I really truly feel when it comes to things that are presented to me throughout life, it really is a huge high and a very low low. And it's unfortunate in a sense of I didn't understand, and I fought this for so long. But the thing is, since you don't have control, the only thing you can do is learn to cope. How to be happy and how to understand and how to make do with the highest highs and the lowest lows, instead of trying to fight it or try to make things artificially happen. This was a very big struggle I had. And it really, really changed my perspective when I actually watched a video of a man talking about the same thing, his highs matching his lowest lows, and the information that his own therapist gave, and saying that he needs to stop fighting the current and truly go with the flow. The highest highs are going to remain so high, just as the lowest lows are going to remain so low. When it comes to these outside factors, you truly have zero control over these things. There is nothing you can do other than how you respond. And it was this key point here that really just awoke in me in my brain. I can definitely also keep in mind, it actually gives me a lot of hope now of anytime I am just having, BS over BS over BS, I think to myself, oh man, I'm gonna have the best time coming up. Something's gonna happen soon. Something amazing's gonna happen. And it makes me excited. It makes me hopeful. And it work at the counter where I start getting fearful and waiting in a sense of, oh, well, where's the bad? Where's the bad? Where's the bad? But what I'm learning is you don't have to treat these two things exactly the same, because they're not the same. What we're gonna have is when I get to the point where things are good, I want to ride that along as much as I possibly can. Yes, I'm gonna be realistic about what can happen and aware of what's going on around me. However, being able to also keep that positive attitude going for as long as I can, that I adopt while things are going so well, would also help strengthen my perspective when I hit those lowest lows. So there's different factors to keep in mind, and you can't actually treat, despite the fact they seem the same, highest highs matching lowest lows, even though they're matching, you don't treat them the same. This way you can actually properly cope, right? So then we have, I can't drown my demons, they know how to swim. Such a bomb, let me tell you. That is, 14-year-old me was like scream crying. I can't tell you enough. I can't drown my demons, they know how to swim. This was something that truly did haunt me. And honestly, another song that I really like, I've mentioned this before, and like I said the last time, I'm gonna eventually cover this song as well, but Zombie by the Cranberries. This song also has a similar prospect. You have demons that don't know how to swim, and then you have zombies, essentially the words and the memories of loved ones, children that have passed away in war. So thinking about these things, very two similar things. To me, this alludes more so essentially to PTSD, actually. Um, Having this constant reminder, having this constant voice in your head, having to remember things constantly, being judged by yourself, not having enough self-esteem, being afraid, being scared, not being able to let people break through to you because you're afraid of history repeating itself. This is PTSD as plain as day. And it's very interesting to see as well as to relate to myself. I actually am not formally diagnosed with PTSD, but I do have strong suspicions, and it is on my list to ask about once I have my new provider. It is so interesting to me to see how PTSD is and how it can differ from person to person, situation to situation, context of context, and how essentially almost anything and everything can give a person PTSD so long as the recipe within the person is just right. It's very odd to me, and that was something that actually had be wrapping my head around for a while, because I really truly believe that it could only be something like a huge traumatic dramatic event that anybody would be like, oh man, that's bad. But really truly, PTSD can develop even over the kind of almost the smallest of things to our own perspective. It really takes its own concoction based on person to person with their own emotional turmoil, what they have going on. Maybe everything was going perfect for them and they had everything right in their childhood, and then just one minor thing happens, such as losing a loved one to cancer. This is something in which where we almost all have had someone die of cancer, but you can develop PTSD from it. And there are plenty of people that have. A huge issue with this, honestly, is not being able to properly deal with loss. Prolonged grief can lead to PTSD. Not knowing how to let go and to be able to properly grieve will just worsen your symptoms and heighten up the chance of this development. And so it makes sense with that in mind, but truly any single thing that is traumatic to a person's perspective can cause PTSD. It could be anything. And that's what I think is almost so scary to me, is that anything can, and it almost has me want to be on the defense. But how do you be on the defense for anything and everything? You just can't, right? You can't always just be on the, but the thing is, that is also PTSD. Constantly being on the defense, not letting people end, avoiding situations out of fear they're gonna happen again, or you're gonna see reminders of the event. Or I feel like you can almost give yourself PTSD worrying too much about PTSD. I don't know. I'd have to look more into that one. But I have a sneaking suspicion that it might be a possibility. Maybe a very rare one, but I still feel like it may be a possibility nonetheless. So this bridge ends up repeating itself. And then we go back to the chorus again. As the final questions, after reviewing it all, can you feel my heart? Go in to the chorus. Can you hear the silence? Can you see the dark? Can you fix the broken? Can you feel? Can you feel my heart? Just a breathtaking song. No matter how you start your view of it with these lyrics, whether seen as more logical or metaphorical, the whole overall song itself makes you understand this is a person that is desperate. absolutely desperate to be understood and has this desire and want to just be a part of life, to have these things that they enjoy the most, which seems to be family and love, but is too scared and is unable to truly open up all of the way and is asking for help. This is such a beautiful song, and to this day gives me a little bit of goosebumps and makes me reflect in many different perspectives, especially now as a grown adult. I definitely would say that my brain registered more of I statements rather than, well, how different ways can we really look at this? And what would another person say about this situation? And I had a very negative feeling of the song and actually avoided it a little bit when I was younger because I felt like it made me feel almost worse. But now I look at this as a huge cry for help. It makes me feel a bit sorry, but it also makes me feel hopeful in a sense. This is a person that regained a little bit of their hope, a little bit of their self-worth, and a little bit of their self-confidence, strong enough to ask for help. Something I still struggle with, asking for help. So it is absolutely beautiful looking at it within that perspective as well. And I don't see it as a hugely negative song much anymore. So it's kind of funny how time and experience will change your perception. I definitely enjoyed this song, and if you have another song you would like me to dissect a little bit and talk about, please let me know. I do have another list of songs that I'm still navigating, as well as other ideas for more fun and upbeat type videos, so definitely keep an eye out for that all. But I hope everybody had a wonderful Valentine's Day. I know St. Patrick's Day is probably closer to the previous Valentine's Day holiday, but I hope you had a happy one nonetheless. I made a bunch of little goodie bags for all of my co-workers and for my kiddos. And it was really fun to be able to pass them out and everything. Made me feel like I was back at school again. Let me tell you what, I was very excited, very happy, and just seeing my coworkers have like a little smile of surprise, not expecting any of it, was really nice to be able to give someone a reason to actually truly smile and it to not be forced. So that was pretty fun. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is definitely one of my more shorter videos, but don't worry, there will be longer ones coming soon. I know there's definitely a bit of back and forth. A lot of people do like the longer format, some people do not. I do want to make it clear that longer formatted videos is my preference. I don't see myself ever really making short-term videos. I tried TikTok and it would get to the point with TikTok, for whatever reason, it would never let me do more than 3 minutes. And that simply was not enough time for my videos that I tried to post on TikTok. I'm like, I'm not doing TikTok anymore. This is irritating. I don't like this. I want longer videos. I like watching TikTok, don't get me wrong, but it's not a format that I am constantly observing. I actually do myself watch longer formatted YouTube videos, and so that's essentially my targeted audience there. But as time goes on, there will be some every once in a while, maybe some shorter, fun type videos. And again, I also want to apologize if you can hear the tablet, the child's tablet. Oh my goodness, she keeps that one loud, let me tell you what. Oh my goodness, I can hear it over my earbuds sometimes, but it is what it is there. And it's actually funny because she'll like skip back in videos and rewatch it, and then skip back in videos and rewatch it, and only do certain places, and then she'll go through the next one and then go back to the other one, and it's just like, all right, this is how your brain works, understood, attention span, age, makes sense for the age. So Anyways, besides the point, if you have a suggestion for another song as well, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a great day. So, thank you.